So if you've considered buying a new construction or building a custom home with Allen Edwin, I hope you'll spend the next few minutes with me as I get a chance to talk to our Allen Edwin local representative that the Keefer Fischer team loves to use because she's very knowledgeable, detail-oriented, and she has a great personality. So, thank you for joining me, Crystal.
Hey, thank you so much, Kerry.
So, okay, tell us about yourself and Allen Edwin.
All right, so my name is Crystal Hydo, and I am a sales counselor at Allen Edwin Homes, which Kerry just said. I've worked at the company for going on 14 years now, so lots of experience there. And I work primarily in the Kalamazoo market, but I really work in other areas as well too. So I go as far east as Grand Ledge and Hillsdale, as far north as Greenville, and I've even sold homes in India. So,
but this is your home office.
But this is the home office here. So yeah, Kalamazoo Portage area. So yeah.
Okay. And Allen Edwin, why Allen Edwin? If you know the sign out front says Michigan's #1 home builder. So tell us about that.
Okay, so we are a privately owned, family operated company. So that means that we can pivot, we turn on a dime and respond to the market conditions because we can. So in addition, we've been in business for over 30 years, which is a lot if you look at the average lifespan for builders across the U.S. who go out of business or change their name every 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you made it through the downturn.
Yes, we sure did.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So what makes Allen Edwin a great choice for a home buyer?
I would say a good choice for a home buyer would be our system. So we really work to provide value to our clients, and we do that by the way that we source our supplies, and then also the way we manage our schedule to build the homes. So we do everything very predictably, which controls the cost, which helps us keep it at a marketable price for our clients.
So talk about the price. Like what price point could a buyer expect to get into one of your homes?
I would say low 300s for most of my markets.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there a top number that you build up to?
Yep. I would say probably 750, 800 would probably be the highest.
Okay. I know just from a real estate agent's perspective, but why from your perspective is purchasing a new home a good choice for a buyer in today's market?
Okay, so I would say a couple different reasons. One, aesthetics. So you're looking at houses that are being built to today's styles, and not just aesthetics as far as like styles like cabinets and flooring, but also the design. So if you think about it, people today are looking for walk-in closets because honestly they have more clothes. And so if you're looking at homes that were built in the past, people didn't have as many clothes, so they didn't have big closets. And then we're also noticing that family time or personal time with people in the household is really important. And so having open floor plans so that someone can communicate and share their time with somebody in the living room, in the kitchen, that's important to them. So we really just morph to whatever the market is doing right now. So you get that with a brand new house. Additionally, we are energy efficient. And so, that goes with any product that's in the industry, and whether it's cars or houses, is that we're using today's technology to build the homes. And they just tend to be more energy efficient. But we pride ourselves on that too. We actually try really hard to do it.
So what does it take to be energy efficient? Like what are you gonna do?
What do you gotta do?
What are you gonna do to be energy efficient?
Okay, so we do work with a third-party company.
Okay.
We consult with them on anything that there's code changes or if we have a new floor plan. They look at it and tell us what is the best way to go about it.
Okay.
So then we have, a prescriptive way that we build our homes. And then we actually have that company come back and test our homes twice. So during construction, when we frame the house with the insulation up, so before the drywall goes up, that company will come in and inspect the insulation to make sure that it's not short, crushed, everything's kind of all in nooks and crannies are all filled in. It's a little late once you put the drywall in.
Right.
So they do that, and then they come back at the end and they do a door blow test, and then they also hook up to the HVAC system.
They blow doors?
So they put this contraption on the front door and they simulate 20-mile-an-hour winds on the house. and there's like a computer. I don't know all the signs, but they have like a wire hooked up to it. There's an algorithm and a score comes out. But basically what they're doing is they're looking to see like how leaky the house is, because if you're leaking out air, you're paying for it. Let's just be real here. So you don't want to be paying like the heat and cooling outside. And then they hook up to our HVAC system too, and they're looking to see like how evenly they're heating and cooling against each level, because the EPA has done studies on homeowner comfort. And if a homeowner is comfortable in their home, so they're not dinking around changing the thermostat every 2 seconds, they're going to save 30% less energy, or they're going to pay 30% less in their energy bill. So,
well, and I think too that a big thing is that everything's new. Right?
Yeah, everything is new.
Your roof is new, your furnace is new, your water heater's new. So all of those major expenses, your windows are new. So, buyers can get in at a price that they know that they don't have to be worried about those things. And
they can do like the fun stuff, like an accent wall.
Right. Or
no one wants to look at your new furnace.
Right.
I mean, like if you had to replace one, you're like,
exactly. Right. So somebody gets into a new home with Allen Edwin, what kind of warranty is there? Like,
you've got 3 kinds of warranties. So you've got the warranties that come direct from the manufacturer on the components that we put in the home,
like
windows, flooring, doors, doorknobs, faucets, you name it. Holy smokes. And those are going to range anywhere from a year up to lifetime. And as the first homeowner, you're gonna benefit from those warranties, but oftentimes those manufacturers will actually void them when you change ownership. So that's the difference between buying a brand new house versus newer. So you've got all those, and then you've got a 1-year builder's warranty, and that's something that's mandated by the state of Michigan. So every builder has to do that. And I think the important thing is to ask the builder, how are you servicing that warranty? And so Allen Edwin Homes, we're a large enough company that we actually have a department that's their only job. And so you have that extra layer of support when you're moving into your house, that you have people that you can lean on to ask questions, and if you have any concerns about your home, that they can address them. So we pride ourselves on that, because I think that provides for good communication. It's you have somebody who knew he's going to answer the phone and get back to you.
Right. That's true.
And then, so that's going to cover our craftsmanship during that first year. So we have the components.
So is it kind of like a bumper to bumper?
Yep. Yep. And then you have a 10-year structural warranty. So it doesn't cover as many things, but it covers like the most important stuff.
Right.
So that's going to be.
So give me an example of one thing that 10-year warranty would cover.
Okay. So your foundation walls holding up your house.
Okay.
You don't want those to be an issue.
Okay. So something cracks, or you.
So if you see something. So we have a book that's specifically like here are the things. 2 pages, but these are the important things. So your foundation walls and footings, that's holding up your house. The frame components like load-bearing walls, your exterior walls, those are holding up your house.
Okay. And I will say that is, working with a rep like you, I appreciate, because I know that I can take my clients and turn them over to you at day one, and you're going to answer questions that they don't even know to ask.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You think about all the things that that they're going to have questions about, that you're going to bring up, just so that they go into it with the complete understanding, expectations are clear.
Well, I think I'm a lot like you in that. So we just want to make sure everything's really transparent and really looking out for the clients too.
Right.
A couple mama bears here, so.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So talk about the process. So, if I get a client, I'm working with somebody and we talk, does it make sense to go buy a resale? Does it make sense to go get new construction? If they can't find what they're looking for and they just want to, step into something that they don't have to think about the thing. So how does day one start? I know I call Crystal, let's meet, and we're either meeting here at your office in the same kitchen, or at a house, so that you can show them what to expect. So where do you go from there?
Okay, so I would like to understand more about the goals. So I do have some questions that I typically ask at a first meeting. What area, what kind of neighborhood, what's important in the home. What are our financing goals? How much do we want to spend? And then what's our timeline? That usually kind of drives it quite a bit. Do we have enough time to build a house? Are we looking to get in something sooner than later? So flushing out all that information, then it helps me to provide some relevant options where we can kind of pivot and either go tour homes, or we're sitting down and kind of building a house on paper. Once we arrive at the solution, then we would be signing a purchase agreement. And then if we were buying a house, that would be actually pretty similar to what you'd be buying a house on the market.
And you're saying a house that's
like we're building.
ready to go.
Yep. So in that situation, it looks pretty similar to an existing home purchase. If it's a home that we are already building and the client would like to take that off the market, while we're there's a squirrel. Literally squirrel. That's actually funny. Literally squirrel. Isn't it cute?
He's like, where's my sandwich?
So then if you're building a house, there's going to be more to consider. So there's going to be selecting sites, selecting the floor plan, going through some pricing.
Do they have to choose one of your sites, or can they just go buy a lot that they want to build on?
You have to pick one of our sites.
You gotta pick one of their sites.
Yeah.
And do they have to pick one of your already existing designs and morph it from size or whatever? Or can they go, hey, I found this design on Amazon, can you build this? Or
Okay,
Amazon may
so
not be the right choice, but
We are a semi-custom builder, but we're not a custom builder.
Okay.
So we do have a lot. We have over 30 floor plans, and then we have different layouts in the floor plans and different finishes. So no, we can't do it from scratch. From some, we found one that my uncle drew, but we tend to have quite a few that actually work for people.
okay.
And you do want to go with those because we have more experience with them.
Right.
So
Well, you can probably put them up faster when the design's already ready to go. You've built it before,
yes.
but they get to choose, what kind of trim do I want? What kind of lights do I want? What color paints? Where do I want my lights? How do I want my
Right.
cabinets?
Yeah,
All
and
the
that's
things.
and so all our clients who are looking to build, they're going to go to our design studio,
Okay.
in Byron Center, and they get to pick out everything.
Okay.
That's the
I love it.
experience. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good stuff there.
Okay, so from start to finish. So if we met and you went through and they're like, yep, this is what we want to do, you sign the purchase agreement, how long does it generally take from that day until they get their keys?
Okay, so you're looking at about 9-10 months to build, so it's not a year.
Oh.
And we're pretty predictable on our schedule too. So we build a lot of houses, and so with that, I spoke before, like predictability. That is what helps us control our costs, and that's why we're able to offer the lower prices. And so we have worked very hard on all these floor plans to know exactly how many days it takes to drywall, exactly how long it takes to trim out a house, and so we're able to offer this work to our trade partners, guaranteed work all year round, and then they offer us a lower rate too.
Mm-hmm.
But they're very efficient
I love it.
because they've done it before.
So what is that process? How involved does the buyer get to be during that process, right? Can they come in and go, I don't like where we put that. Can I move that? And then how often do they get to come on site and get communication? What's that look like?
Okay, so we do offer our clients a direct line of communication to the individual who's overseeing construction in the home in the field, which is different. So we don't typically get that. And they're going to be in your house every day or every other day, and they're going to get the regular updates, tend to be on Fridays.
Okay.
So we do encourage our clients to visit their homes. I would say I probably wouldn't visit it every day. It'll make you insane. But I think regular visits, we do encourage that. We do know that it's not just building a home and buying a home, it's the experience of doing so. And so we do want to have people take photos, and they know their house better than anybody else, and it's super fun experience. So we do encourage that for sure. As far as like going inside and making changes on the whim, that impacts our schedule. So that is not something we do. But what we do instead is we work very hard up front to make sure that everything that you want in your home and where you want it has been decided before we start construction.
Okay.
It's the preparation.
I know why my clients would want to work with me throughout a resale or a new construction process, just because the involvement and knowledge and experience and the guidance I can provide. But from your perspective, what does it mean when you have somebody that comes to you and they have someone from our team working with them?
I think the biggest thing is going to be the experience that you have, not only in the market as an agent and your team, but also the experience that you have with my company. You are very well versed on the expectations for what the client's going to see during their process, even just doing showings. And then also just the agreement when someone does sign up to build or buy, what the terms are of our purchase agreement. And that's actually the most beneficial thing, because when it comes down to it, Kerry is representing your interests and I'm representing the interests of my company. I want to give great service, but really fiduciary responsibility is going to be with Kerry. And having her know all the experience of working with us, that's really what's going to benefit you big time. So I would advocate that, actually. I think you're just going to have a better experience.
Absolutely. And you know, from the agent's perspective, knowing and having had the previous clients go through that contract process, going through the build process, the purchase process, and then the resale process of that home that they built and bought, you know, we can help guide, answer questions, and tell them what it's been like based on experience from other people.
And I think that's, I like to tag onto that with the resale portion of it, is that I don't sell homes, existing homes. And with Kerry having so much experience just in the market and with us, she's going to be the best one to tell you that, hey, if your goals are only to stay in your house for 5 years, here's what you might want to think about for resale in that 5 years.
Right.
So, and that's not something that I can advise on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I love to be part of the, okay, what should this house look like? Should we, you know, trim out certain things or do this or do that? And if I can say, hey, here's what I see a future buyer might love to see in your home, let's consider that in the upfront cost versus you doing it after the fact.
Okay.
So, okay, great. So one piece we haven't really talked about is financing.
Okay, let's do it.
The money piece of it. So,
it's the important one.
you know, obviously, if there's a house that is already built, it's in one of your existing neighborhoods, and it's ready to go. I mean, that process is going to be fairly similar.
Very similar. Yes. Yeah.
But when it comes to a new construction, what does that mean?
Okay, so the most common question I get is actually around financing, and it's when it comes to building a house. So usually you would have, the builder would require that their client would get a construction loan. And that makes sense because, you know, if you're only building so many houses per year, you can't take on the risk of multiple loans. You're a smaller builder. We, on the other hand, are a very large company and we have very large lines of credit. So what we do for our clients, just to reduce that barrier to entry for purchasing, is we have our clients show that they are approved for a mortgage, and people are also surprised too about all the loan types that we'll take. So as long as it's in a geographically eligible area, I mean, we'll do FHA, VA conventional. So, and rural development, depending on where that's at. If it's in the footprint, the qualifying footprint, we'll certainly do that. But no, we don't require a construction loan. So we'll take out that burden.
So if I have somebody that's doing rural development or a VA loan, and those can be zero down.
Yep.
So how would that work with, you know, you've got this 9-month build time. Somebody could still come in and...
Absolutely. And I've done that. We've done that a lot of times. So with them being a zero down loan program, really it's just their earnest deposit up front that they're giving to us. Because there isn't a down payment requirement. So now if you were to build a house with us, you would need to ultimately deposit the balance of the minimum down payment for your loan program. Typically, I see 5% for conventional, 3.5% for FHA. And we do that because we want to, as a company, because we are taking the risk of the loan, safeguard the fact that our clients are going to be eligible for the loan at the end of construction. But with VA, RV with zero down, that's just the earnest cost up front. So that's really good. So that'd be
amazing, really. I mean, that's something that a lot of other builders can't do, like you said, because they're obviously the risk is on the line and they have to take on the extra liability.
Yeah.
So there are also some promotions just by somebody having an agent.
Yes.
That's part of your team. Right?
Yes, we can certainly do that. So, you know, we recognize, Kerry, we have a wonderful relationship with you and your team, and we offer on behalf of the team for Kerry's clients a $500 bonus at our design studio. They wouldn't get otherwise.
Nice.
Yeah. Buys a lot, you'd be surprised.
Absolutely. I love that. So let's talk about actually budgets. Budgets is a good one because I think sometimes, you know, people go into building a home and they get super excited about all of the choices, and especially when you go to the design studio, like I've been there, it's pretty amazing. And so many neat things to look at and all the latest trends. So how do you help someone say, okay, here's what you've got to work with financially. How do we stay in budget? What do we do?
All right, so if somebody's looking to build, that I do a lot more prep on that. end. So what I always like to do is once we've narrowed down the floor plan in the area, I like to have a reference home that we go into, and then I like to base quotes, detailed quotes off of what they've seen, and then customizing that to what they want to get a realistic view of this is what they're ultimately going to spend. Because what I don't want to have happen is go to our design studio and the eyes get big and then they spend all the budget in the kitchen and then they're disappointed. So I work hard to do that in concert with you.
And I will say that I've seen your spreadsheets. I've seen the process.
Yes.
And I've seen to where my people go, okay, let's do the jetted tub. No, oh gosh, no, that affects the price too much. Let's take that out. Okay,
And that's okay. Yeah.
let's do this particular trim. No, let's nail it. Let's take that back a little bit. So I've seen those numbers and how you can just quickly pop things onto your spreadsheets and it adjusts the bottom line very
Quickly,
nicely
yeah.
so that they can see really accurately how things get affected. Which when you don't work with a builder that has that kind of
That's exactly
that
it.
level of detail, there can be some big unknowns and
Yeah.
big overruns.
So that's we haven't talked about that. That's another way that we're different from other builders.
Right.
Is that we have all of our pricing set up front.
Right.
So for a client who initiates the process of building a home, we actually lock all their option prices in at that time, and then I give them an option price book, and that's where they're able to do the spreadsheet and start manipulating it to make their own budget. Now, as long as that client makes their final decisions within 90 days, we're going to honor all those prices.
Okay, so if the price of windows goes up,
During construction, we're going to eat that cost, and that has happened.
Yeah.
Lumber is the biggest one
Oh,
that we've
gosh.
seen, and if gas prices go up, all the components of those things are going to go up to the manufacturer. But if you secured all of that with signing your purchase agreement and staying on our timeline, your price doesn't change.
so speaking of financing,
Mhm.
can someone actually lock in their interest rates?
Yeah, actually you can. So we have 2 lenders that offer special deals for Allen Edwin homes where they can lock up the rate to 12 months. So it'll cover very comfortably the whole build process.
Okay.
And so what they'll end up doing is as we get closer to the end of construction, so let's say end 30 days, they also offer them to float down to the market rate if it's lower.
Okay, nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. It offers more predictability, right?
Yeah, sure does.
Crystal,
Yes.
we have someone with a pre-approval that's in that price range that they could get into something new. What advice would you give them to consider the exploration of your product?
I would say even if you're not specifically looking for new houses or new construction, still give it a look. Just because I've seen clients who will spend 6 months looking for a home and then go, maybe I should have tried that out, and then all those opportunities were gone up front, or they lost 6 months of time when they could have been building a house. We would have been done 3 months later. So
Right. I think some people just don't realize it's really in their reach.
yeah.
And when we hear what they have to talk about, we're hearing their wishes and desires. There are some product too that you offer that's not necessarily online.
No.
It's not available to the public, but our team will receive lists from
Yep.
Crystal every week
Yes.
that says, hey, here's what's coming, here's what you can expect, or this is what we have going on promotion wise.
So Kerry's team knows about everything before you, the public, knows.
Yeah, so call us.
Yeah, that's always call them first.
And so speaking of, I kind of brought up the whole promotional aspect too. There could be programs that you're offering on specific homes that you have. So talk about some of those programs.
Yes. So as a builder, we do want to incentivize clients to purchase our homes that are completed, because as a builder, you want to take those off of your responsibility, because we're paying bills just like everybody else.
Right.
And what's ambiguous on the websites and information is pulling from our website onto Zillow is that they really don't give you much information. Kerry's group knows the promotions that are specific and the details from them. So we do have some promotions that are on these completed homes. Some of them are coupled with different lenders. Some of them are promotions in neighborhoods to build. So really it would be a matter of calling Kerry and inquiring more on that. So she has the inside scoop.
Yep. And then we'll get connected with Crystal. We'll
Yeah.
sit down and we'll explore what the options are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right now as we head into what's coming up as a spring market, but tell me about any new communities that you guys have that are up and coming.
Hot. Okay, I would say a couple hot ones. One's going to be Otsego. So we have houses that are coming up this spring That location, you're looking at just under a half-acre sites, and it's right between the Plainville Otsego 131 exit and D Avenue.
Okay.
Wonderful for people who need to be between Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids.
Price point?
We're looking at mid-3s.
Okay. And 3s.
Right?
All right.
Okay, so I've got that. We have we got a neighborhood off of West Main.
Yeah.
That is, I'm going to be west of 8th Street, so KPS.
Yeah.
We have, those are going to be wider sites in there, so they're 100 feet wide. So that's fantastic. Most of our neighborhoods are 60, so a little more room between the various houses and the dark, bold siding. In that neighborhood, we're going to be looking at the end of spring, early summer is when we're going to start seeing those houses be completed, which you could purchase now.
Price point?
Price point, we're going to be looking at the high 3, low 4s.
Okay.
Yep. After that, I've got some wonderful inventory out in Matawan. It's ready to go if you're looking a little sooner than later. But I always have houses coming up there. That's
Right.
we love Matawan.
Absolutely.
But
What's
then-
the price point of that one we have right now?
I was low 3s. And then I have another neighborhood in Matawan because sometimes you want a little more elbow room. So I have almost 3/4 acre sites in the north part of Matawan.
Okay.
We're looking at mid-3s there. Now that one's a unique one because that one you can put structures on the property. So you could do barns up to 600 square feet.
She's whispering because it's kind of a secret.
Kind of cool. Yes, that's fully advertised. Yes.
We love when Crystal goes into
Yes.
whispering.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so let's
Okay,
talk about Portage.
Portage, okay.
Any Portage still?
Oh, I have lots of Portage. I don't know why I didn't mention them. Seems like I talk about Portage all the time. So I have four communities in Portage, and now that Portage is going to run the whole gambit of our price range. So we're starting in our entry level, so 300, actually 299.9, so I have a house there.
Okay.
That's going to be the south part of Portage. Coming up into the mids, which would be, we're in Copperleaf right now, and that's going to be high 3s. I go into Texas Township, sites are going to be a little bit bigger. We're looking at mid 4s. And then when we get up into like 7/8, 6, 7/8, that's going to be up in Texas Corners too. So,
What's your favorite part about the process?
Actually, I really love building.
Okay.
And I think it's so selfish, but I really like it because that's the longest I get to work with clients. And I feel like it's a really big team process. So it's not just, working, I love it, 30 days, but you really get to know people and you get to dig deep into what their goals are and their dreams of their new home. And it's fun to be able to, figure out, do you have a vacuum cleaner that you need to charge? Okay, well, what if we put an outlet halfway up the wall in this location? Would that be helpful to you?
Mm-hmm.
That is so much fun. I love it. Or we add extra windows.
The design piece of it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yes. I really, really love that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
What else do our buyers need to think about, or what do you want them to consider when it comes to working with you and Allen Edwin?
Okay, I would say that more often than not, people don't consider new construction because they didn't grow up in new construction. And so I would just give it a gander, and if you don't like it, then you just cross it off the list. There's nothing worse than finding out you could have done it and you didn't have the chance because you didn't pop in your mind that it was an option. So call Kerry, check out the options, and then go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for joining us, Crystal. I've had a lot of fun today. She's always a lot of fun to hang out with. So if if you're in the market for a new home or a resale home, let's consider Allen Edwin. Let's sit down with Crystal and let's get some of your questions answered to see if it could be a good fit.
Thank you so much, Kerry.